Hi everyone, Assalamualaikum. I hope you still feel good about the lectures and our meetings. So, as I said before, after chapter 2, I'm going to go straight for chapter 8. This is evaluation of financial performance. Okay, you're going to refer to this book, Financial Management. Okay, and the location is at chapter 2. Okay, evaluation of financial performance. So please refer to this book when we are doing our lecture here. This is our chapters outline. We're going to look at, first one is the introduction. Next adalah financial analysis and then objective for financial analysis. We're going to look at the financial ratios, objective of ratio analysis, the types of comparison, the internal-external comparison, the financial statements, profit versus cash flow, uses of financial statement, the types of financial ratios, common size ratio based on income statement or SOPL, common size ratio based on SOFP, and also the last one adalah the limitation of financial ratios. Okay, as you know that a firm, it actually operates from year to year, and at each financial, these people will be interested in the company's performance and also financial stability. So we have here investors, community, trade unions, government, suppliers, and customers, and also creditors. These people are the stakeholders of the company. Those people are that are going to be affected by the decision made by the company. So they are interested in two things, mainly the profit performance and also the financial stability. When the stakeholders are interested in the company's financial stability, they will do this financial analysis. So what are financial analysis? They are the assessment of the firm's past, present, and anticipated future financial performance. So these analyses will be made on the firm's financial statements. And what are we doing with that analysis? Okay, kita akan tengok historical performance untuk kita estimate the company's future performance. So, in a way, it allows comparison over time and also comparison to the competitors in the industry. So, that is what financial analysis do. It also helps in checking whether the company is doing better or worse as compared to other companies in the same industry. So these are what we are doing inside the financial analysis. The main objective of financial analysis, first one adalah to identify the firm's strengths and weaknesses. And when we know that, we are going to capitalize on the strength. Kita akan gunakan kekuatan kita dan kita akan cuba untuk improve the weaknesses. Then only the firm will be able to improve the performance and remain competitive in the industry. So here is then only. Okay. Moving on, we are going to look at the financial ratios. Financial ratio adalah salah satu tool untuk kita buat financial analysis. So, kita akan belajar buat ratios, kira ratios ni untuk di subtopic. Okay, financial ratios are calculated based on the firm's financial statements. Maksudnya, kita akan gunakan information yang dah ada dekat the firm's tu punya financial statement. They are used to summarize the information in the company financial statement to assess dia punya financial health. So, when we are calculating the financial ratio, kita akan look into the relationship between individual values and relate them on how the company has performed in the past. Okay, bila kita buat comparison. Dan juga kita akan estimate ataupun jangkakan macam mana the company will perform in the future. So, that is the use of financial ratio. This financial ratio It provides better understanding about the company rather than the raw numbers. So, contoh dekat sini, I bagi the absolute number of current asset may be meaningless. Okay, kalau you bagi amount of current asset, let's say 10,000. Would it give any meaning? No. But kalau kita dividekan current asset tu dengan current liability, apa yang kita boleh dapat adalah the indication whether the company has enough money to settle its short-term obligation. So, bila kita divide current asset dengan current liability, nama dia adalah current ratio. So, kalau kita bagi orang tu information mengenai current asset sahaja, ianya tak ada maksud apa-apa. Tapi kalau kita bahagikan dia dengan the current liability, kita akan dapat current ratio. So, current ratio tu akan digunakan ataupun akan indicate sama ada company tu cukup ke tak duit nak bayar dia punya short term obligation. Kalau ratio dia 1, maksudnya current asset dia ada cun-cun je nak bayar current liability. Kalau dia less than 1, tak cukup lah kan? Okay, so they can be used to compare performance of company regardless of its difference in size. So, kebaikan tentang ratio ni dia boleh guna untuk compare performance of company tak kisah size besar ataupun kecil. For example, the net profit of firm A. Firm A ni net profit dia 10,000 dengan annual sales dia 100,000. Sebenarnya dia sama dengan firm B yang dia punya net profit 100,000 dengan annual sale of 1 juta. Both indicate 10% net profit margin. Betul tak? So, regardless of firm A ni lagi kecil daripada firm B. Tapi nilai dia, kalau kita buat in ratio, kita akan dapat nilai yang sama in term of net profit margin. So, you can see that this ratio can be used to compare performance of company regardless of the difference in size. These are the objective of ratio analysis. So, overall kita ada 6 objective altogether. First one adalah untuk standardize the financial information untuk comparison purpose. So, you nak compare between two company, you nak standardizekan dia punya information. Like just now, you are comparing a net profit margin between firm A and firm B of different size. So, you kena standardize menggunakan ratio untuk you compare that performance. So, eventually, you dapati that firm A and firm B perform the same because both get 10% net profit margin, right? Next adalah evaluate the current operation of the company, compare present and present performance with the past, compare performance of the competitor, compare performance with the competitor or the industry. Fifth adalah to assess the efficiency of operation. Yang ni you akan nampak masa you buat ratio nanti. Efficiency ratio calculation. Next adalah number 6 adalah to assess the risk of operations. We have two types of comparison. Okay, untuk ratio analysis, kita boleh buat internal comparison ataupun external comparison. So, we're going to look at each of these one in the next slide. Internal comparison involve analysis of similar ratio for the same firm. So, the keyword here adalah the same firm over years. Kita akan buat untuk company yang sama, tapi kita akan buat selama beberapa tahun. It is also called as time series analysis. So, the objective of internal comparison, because we want to analyze the financial performance over time and to know whether the performance improve ataupun lagi teruk, deteriorate. Next, untuk external comparison, the analysis of the ratio of the firm with ratio of other firms in the similar industry. So, yang ni external sebab kita compare dengan orang lain luar daripada company kita, tapi masih dalam industri yang sama. It is also called as inter-firm comparison ataupun cross-sectional analysis. So, tujuan kita compare company kita dengan company orang lain adalah untuk identify the company strength and weaknesses bila kita compare dengan competitor supaya kita boleh improve dan be better than the competitor lah bila compete dalam industri tersebut. This one, I guess everyone knows the financial statements comprises of four things. This is the four main elements. First one adalah SOFP, second one adalah SOPL, third one adalah SOCE, fourth one adalah the SOCF. Okay, so we are going to look at how this relates to the financial analysis. The first financial statement adalah the statement of financial position. What does it show? It shows the assets of the company and the claims against this asset, represented by the liabilities and the shareholder equity in a specific point of time. So the total asset must equal to the liabilities plus equity. So this is the basic equation. I think semua orang pun dah tahu basic equation ni because ia sangat common untuk semua orang, right? Especially accounting lah. So asset sama dengan liability plus equity. So apa yang you nak cakap dekat sini sebenarnya claim untuk asset ni, macam mana you beli asset ni, you mungkin beli daripada hutang which is liability, ataupun you mungkin beli daripada duit sendiri iaitu equity. So this asset financed by what? These two. Okay, this is the statement of profit or loss. So statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income measure the amount of profit or loss earned by the firm over a period of usually 1 year. So profit or loss is the difference between total revenue and also total expenses. So kalau you tengok kat sini, the sales campur dengan other revenue tolak dengan cost of sale dan juga other expenses sama dengan profit or loss. Okay, so this is the basic untuk you dapat profit. Next adalah the statement of changes in equity. So apa benda dalam dia? The SOCE details out the changes in owner's equity over a period. So equity increases apabila ada capital yang ditambahkan dalam equity tu ataupun bila ada profit. On the other hand, the equity reduce apabila owner makes a withdrawal, this one like drawings, ataupun bila business tu incur a trading losses. Bila business tu rugi, so equity pun akan berkurang. So antara items yang akan ditunjukkan dalam statement of changes in equity adalah the first one adalah the net profit or loss during the accounting period. Second one adalah the changes in accounting policy. Kalau ada effect on those changes yang melibatkan duit, so dia akan letakkan kat sini effect dia tu. Next adalah the increase or decrease in the share capital. Pun akan ada kat sini. Kalau ada issuance of share yang baru, ada pertambahan. Kalau ada beli balik share, akan ada pengurangan. This one you dah belajar masa FAR 160, I guess. Number 4 adalah the dividend payment to the shareholder. Also will be recorded here in the statement of changes in equity. The statement of cash flow. Untuk cash flow, kita akan belajar banyak benda pasal cash flow. Even ada subtopik dalam kita punya syllabus juga untuk cash flow sahaja. So, apa benda cash flow ni? Dia tunjukkan the cash flow of the firm over a given period, usually 1 year. So, dalam cash flow ni dia akan explain sumber kewangan dan juga macam mana firm tu guna dia punya cash. How the cash is used. So, item shown in the statement adalah first one, the cash flow from operating activities. Second one adalah cash flow from investing. The third one adalah the cash flow from financing activities. So, the three categories of cash flows inside the statement of cash flow. Moving on, okay, this is profit versus cash flow. So, we are going to use cash flow information to make the financing decision. Okay, so in order to make finance decision, the manager usually use cash flow instead of accounting profit. Kenapa? Because dia nak kena consider there are payments yang dia kena buat untuk investment tu dan apa-apa expenses, interest ataupun dividend dan liability yang terlibat yang melibatkan cash lah. So, it is very important for the manager to know the movement of cash in the company. So kalau dia nak buat financing decision, dia akan guna the cash flow, not profit. Okay. Next, kita nak tengok the reasons for differences between cash flow dengan profit. Apa yang menyebabkan berlakunya perbezaan? Yang pertama adalah because of the depreciation of the non-current asset. Kalau you know the nature of depreciation, depreciation ni sebenarnya dia tak melibatkan cash pun, right? So purchase of non-current asset is not recorded as expenses in SOPL. Kita tak record dia sebagai belanja sebab dia adalah asset, so kita akan capitalize. Instead, cost dia tu kita akan spread over its useful life melalui depreciation. So, untuk purchase of asset, duit keluar pada tahun pertama, tapi benefit masuk pada the future years, year 1, year 2, year 3, sampailah habis useful life. So, the reasons for difference between cash flow dan profit adalah first one because of depreciation, because depreciation is actually a non-cash items. Okay, because duit hanya keluar year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4 dia tak ada duit yang keluar. Next adalah the accounting use of accrual basis. So ini adalah salah satu the reason kenapa cash flow tu berbeza dengan profit. So financial accounting use accrual basis. You tahu dah, kita tengok banyak kali dah pasal accrual. Income adalah upon earn, not when the cash is received. Expenses adalah upon incurred, not when the cash is paid. So inilah dua reason untuk perbezaan antara cash flow dan profit. Next, kita nak tengok users of financial statement. So, who are the users? So, this one kita dah belajar juga masa awal-awal dulu. Siapa stakeholder of the company? So, mereka itulah yang akan jadi user of financial statement. So, yang pertama adalah the shareholder or investor. Kenapa dia berminat dengan financial statement company kita? Sebab dia invest money dekat business kita. Right. So, dia nak tahu the prospect of the business. Boleh dapat untung ke tak, dan dia dapat nak tahu pasal dividen. Next adalah the manager. Manager perlukan financial statement untuk buat decision sama ada dia patut teruskan certain business ataupun patut discontinue certain business. Okay. Next, manager juga perlukan untuk evaluate how well dia dah perform. Next adalah the creditor and lender. Kenapa orang-orang ni perlukan information pasal financial statement? Kenapa dia guna benda ni? Sebab dia nak tahu mampu ke tak company tu bayar balik duit dia. Right, the ability to pay back with interest. And the future and current employee. This one, of course lah dia nak tahu mengenai the stability of the company. Stable ke tak? Ada tak career prospect? So, itulah kegunaan financial statement kepada the employees. Next adalah the prospective investor. Prospective investor adalah future investor. Dia belum jadi investor kita lagi, tapi dia tengah considering untuk invest dalam bisnes kita. So, kenapa dia perlukan information mengenai company kita? Dia nak make decision sama ada to invest or not. Okay, dia perlukan information sama ada kalau dia invest tu dia dapat untung ataupun tak. What is the prospect of growth? Next adalah customer. Kenapa customer perlukan information mengenai financial statements? Okay, usually the customer, they concern about our product. So, boleh tak dia dapat produk tu dengan harga yang lagi rendah? Okay, kalau dia nampak company is performing well, mungkin company tu boleh sustain giving a good product. So, next adalah government. This one rasanya semua orang tahu kenapa government perlukan financial statement. You adalah first and foremost adalah for tax purpose. Dia nak kutip lah. Kalau dia dapat tahu you dapat untung, dia nak juga the tax in term of tax collection. Okay. Okay, next we're going to move on to the types of financial ratio. Okay, ni adalah dah masuk mengenai ratio analysis. So ada berapa banyak ratio kat sini? Ada altogether 5 types of ratio, which is the liquidity, efficiency, leverage, profitability, and also market ratio. Yang ni ada dalam your buku financial management. Okay, so kenapa kita kena belajar kira semua ratio ni? Sebab you akan ada group project, a group of 4 untuk kira ratios for the public listed company in Malaysia. So I akan bagi information about the group project very soon, around week 5. Okay, kalau dapat awal, I akan bagi tahu you lagi awal. So kita move on mengenai setiap ratios yang ada ni. The liquidity ratio adalah dikira untuk show the firm's ability to settle the short-term obligation. Liquidity ni adalah kecairan. Okay, kecairan. How liquid is your asset? So, macam mana nak kira the current ratio? Dia ada 2 types, which is current and also acid test. So, current ratio adalah current asset bahagi dengan current liability. So this figure you can simply take from you punya SOFP. And this one is the quick ratio ataupun acid test adalah current asset tolak inventory tolak dengan prepayment bahagi dengan current liability. So in term of interpretation, higher current ratio ataupun dan quick ratio indicate higher liquidity. So lebih tinggi CR dan QR ni lebih bagus sebab dia indicate that the company is liquid in term of ability for them to meet the short-term obligation. Higher current ratio, okay, kalau dekat sini tinggi tapi low QR, means that the current asset of the firm comprise of less liquid assets such as inventory and prepayment. So apabila current ratio ni tinggi tapi quick ratio ni rendah, itu maksudnya dalam current asset of the company dia ada banyak inventory dan prepayment, dia banyak asset yang less liquid. A current ratio of 1 indicate that current asset just enough to pay the current liability, and current ratio of less than 1 indicate that current assets are not enough to settle short-term obligation without having to sell the inventory. So kalau dia ada 1, current ratio dia 1, meaning that dia punya asset just enough untuk cover liability. Kalau less than 1 maksudnya dia punya current asset tak cukup pun nak cover the current liability. These are the possible causes of liquidity problem. First one is when you hold too much inventory, when you have a poor debt collection system, maksudnya tak cukup agresif untuk kutip hutang duit kita dengan orang, poor cash management system, and the company is using short-term source to finance the long-term asset purchase. So what are the suggestions to improve the liquidity position? First one, you boleh promote the cash sales and give discount when necessary. Kalau firm tu jual barang secara kredit, bagi discount untuk early settlement. And then improve the account receivable collection system. Okay, kena lebih baik lagi lah. And then adopt effective inventory control system like EOQ ataupun JIT. This one you can avoid holding too much inventory inside your business. And then the last one lah, managing current liability to ensure that creditors are paid. Moving on to efficiency ratio. This ratio shows the firm effectiveness in managing assets to generate sales. It also shows the firm efficiency in collecting debts and also turning inventory into sales. So efficiency ratio dia ada 4. types of ratio. First one adalah inventory ratio. Second one adalah average collection period. Number 3 adalah the non-current asset turnover. And the last one adalah the total asset turnover. So these are the related formula untuk each ratio. The inventory turnover ratio is calculated by dividing the cost of goods sold with the average ataupun closing inventory depending on the company's policy. And the average collection period is calculated using account receivable over the annual credit sales bahagi dengan 360 hari. Okay, 360 days is depending on company information. Okay. The non-current asset turnover adalah sales bahagi dengan the net non-current asset, and the total asset turnover adalah sales bahagi dengan total assets. So this is the inventory turnover ratio. Here we will highlight some possible causes for poor inventory turnover. First one adalah because they hold too much inventory. Holding too much inventory ataupun damage or obsolete goods ataupun poor inventory management system. Second one adalah because of lower sales. Lower sales may be due to lack of promotion ataupun tak ada diskaun diberi kepada customer. And then the third possible cause for poor inventory turnover adalah the high price of goods. Okay, harga barang yang kita jual tu mungkin terlalu tinggi, so dia akan affect demand. So tak ramai orang mampu beli, so dia tak beli. So bila dia tak beli, punya inventory tak bergerak, so it will lead to the poor inventory turnover. Next, macam mana nak improve inventory turnover? Kalau inventory tu low sebabnya kita terlalu banyak pegang stok, then kita kena evaluate our inventory control system dan kita mungkin kena ubah the methods of ordering. Mungkin kena guna JIT. So kalau you guna JIT, dia order bila nak guna saja, right? And then you may cut down on the slow moving and obsolete inventory by having clearance sales. So untuk slow moving inventory ni, barang-barang yang jarang orang beli ni, you mungkin boleh buat clearance sales supaya dia laku lah, dia habis. And then if it's caused by the pricing, kalau disebabkan oleh harga yang terlalu mahal, kita kena study balik the demand and then the willingness of the customer to pay for the product at the price. So if you look back ataupun you buat balik you punya market survey, you mungkin dapat tidak customer are not willing to pay that much for your goods. So therefore you need to lower down the price to boost the sales. Okay. Okay, these are the 4 possible causes for poor debtors collection period. If you can see from here, first reason kenapa kita ada poor debtors collection period because of the sloppy credit policy. So I want you guys to find out what does it mean by this one. And then poor screening when accepting new credit customer. This one masa kita nak accept new customer tu, usually the company will see the credit history untuk supplier lain. Okay, dia mungkin akan tanya dulu supplier lain pernah tak deal dengan this customer, ataupun macam mana cara pembayaran untuk customer tersebut. And then no agreeing on customer account. This one, bila kita jual secara hutang, kita kena sentiasa agree on the balance yang dihutangan kita. So bila kita tak agree on the balance, kita pun tak tahu banyak mana dia hutang dengan kita. So dia menyebabkan kita nak collect dengan dia pun difficult lah. No reminder sent, no follow up for late payment. This one, kita tak hantar reminder, the company tak hantar reminder untuk late payment, so dia pun tak bayar lah. The last one adalah not enough discount given for early settlement. Okay, untuk credit sales, when you give early discount settlement, dia akan encourage the customer to pay early. So mungkin tak cukup lah discount yang the company bagi. And then this suggestion to improve debtors collection period, adopt tighter credit collection policy. So kalau sekarang ni 45 days, kurangkan kepada 30 days. And then prepare debtors aging account. Sebab kita nak tahu berapa lama dah debtor tu hutangan kita, berapa umur hutang tu. Okay, so that is called aging. Screen the new credit customer before allowing credit sales. Yang ni biasa kalau company buat, dia akan screen dulu, tengok dulu the history, the purchase history of that customer dengan supplier lain. Sebab dia tu baru nak jadi customer kita. And then offer discount to encourage early payments and also be aggressive in debt collection. Kalau boleh hantar reminder, follow up for the late payments and all that. Number 3 dan 4 adalah the non-current asset turnover and also the total asset turnover. So this one, kita ada satu types of possible causes sahaja untuk dua-dua ratio ni because it's actually a more or like ratio, lebih kurang. So, what does cause the poor non-current asset ataupun total asset turnover adalah underutilization of the current asset. Okay, you tak guna sepenuhnya current asset you untuk produce sales. So, poor lah kiranya the non-current asset turnover ni. And also, it may result from too much investment in the non-current asset and also current asset. Nilai current asset dengan non-current asset tu terlalu besar. Sales dia tak banyak sangat. Okay. And also, low ataupun insufficient sales. Because you have to know that dia punya formula adalah total asset bahagi dengan sales. So kalau yang ni besar, yang ni kecil, memang dia akan jadi tinggi lah. Okay. Next, how to improve the total asset turnover. First one adalah increase production. So the asset yang ada boleh digunakan lebih efficient. So when you increase production, you can boost you punya sales as well. If there is no demand for the product, then dispose the unutilized non-current asset. So kalau tak ada demand untuk produk tu, kalau ada non-current asset yang digunakan untuk buat produk tersebut, disposekan je. So you can cairkan you punya the non-current asset, the machine tu. If there is demand, then the company should increase volume. The sales increase, therefore you will encourage sales lah and also do the aggressive promotion. The last one adalah macam mana nak improve the total asset turnover. You give discount to boost sales, especially for the bulk purchase. So I notice wrong title here. Suggestion to improve the non-current asset turnover. Okay. Next adalah the leverage ratio. It measures the firm's level of debt in a firm. So it tells us whether the company use more debt to finance its asset as compared to equity financing. So leverage ni adalah kadar hutang. So here, if you look at this picture, nampak dia punya leverage adalah low because dia punya asset lah $1,000. So the financial structure, capital structure dia, debt dia 200, equity dia 800, which means that this company is actually low leverage because dia punya debt financing is low as compared to the equity financing. So bila dia low leverage, dia adalah low risk. Next, this one, if you look at this, dia high leverage because untuk finance dia punya asset yang 1,000 ni, dia menggunakan lebih banyak proportion of debt, which is 800 compared to only 200 menggunakan duit sendiri, which is equity. So with high leverage comes higher risk. Higher risk ni in term of repayment of this debt lah. Macam mana you nak bayar balik this debt? So bila high risk, maksudnya ada high chance that you mungkin tak dapat bayar the debt. Okay. So leverage ratio kita ada 3, which is the debt ratio, debt to equity ratio, dan also the time interest earned. So these are the formula untuk debt ratio adalah the total debt bahagi dengan total asset, debt to equity, total debt bahagi dengan total equity, time interest earned ataupun so-called interest coverage, dia adalah EBIT, earnings before interest and tax bahagi dengan interest expenses. So this EBIT, this time interest earned bermaksud berapa kali you punya earnings before interest and tax boleh cover tax interest expenses. So berapa kali, maksudnya lebih banyak kali EBIT over interest expenses, lebih bagus lah. Let's say EBIT is 2, interest expenses is 1, so 2 over 1, which means 2 times. The EBIT adalah 2 times interest. Maksudnya, dia boleh bayar interest sebanyak 2 kali dengan EBIT yang ada. Right? These are the possible causes of high leverage. First one, of course lah, sebabnya dia borrowing lebih daripada apa yang diperlukan. Okay, high borrowings. And mungkin juga high leverage tu because of high dividend policy menyebabkan less retained earning for business expansion. So, in order to satisfy the dividend policy, so untuk bayar dividend, you kena ada retain profit, right? So, because you punya dividend policy tu terlalu tinggi, retain profit tu guna untuk bayar dividend sahaja. So, tak ada duit dah untuk expansion. Therefore, you kena borrow lah. Next adalah suggestion to improve leverage ratio. Consider optimal mixture of sources of financing. Okay, kita mix dengan equity dan also debt. Next adalah consider business expansion by issuing additional share. Ni guna duit sendiri. Cuba guna duit sendiri untuk business expansion. Maksudnya guna equity lah. And then review the dividend policy. If the policy is too high, then you might want to lower it down. Avoid taking additional debt if the company is already at high leverage. So kalau hutang dah banyak, avoid taking additional debt. Next adalah profitability ratio. It shows the firm's effectiveness in using its asset to make profit. Also indicate the efficiency in controlling costs and its pricing policy. So under profitability ratio, kita ada 5 main ratio. So first one adalah the gross profit margin. I'm sure everyone knows what this is. So the formula adalah gross profit bahagi dengan sales. Operating profit margin, the formula EBIT bahagi dengan sales. EBIT stands for earning before interest and tax. Net profit margin adalah net income available to common shareholder bahagi dengan sales. Return on asset adalah net income available to common shareholder bahagi dengan total assets. The return on equity adalah net income available to common shareholder bahagi dengan the common equity. First one, we're going to look at the gross profit margin. So these are possible causes that low net profit margin. So I miss a word here. I'm going to add it now. Possible causes of low gross profit margin. First one adalah insufficient sales volume ataupun high cost of goods sold. Sebabnya gross profit ni berada di bawah cost of sales dengan revenue. So kalau dia rendah, maksudnya cost of sales tu terlalu tinggi lah, ataupun revenue punya volume terlalu rendah. Okay, this may be due to high production cost. The high production cost mungkin because of high labor cost and also high wastage, and also maybe due to the unrevised selling price. Selling price yang terlalu rendah menyebabkan you punya gross profit ni jadi rendah. So you kena imagine this situation, the revenue tolak cost of sales dapat gross profit. So bila yang sini rendah, sini tinggi, sini rendah lah. Macam tu lah. Next adalah the suggestion to improve the gross profit margin. First one, the company may need to review its pricing policy. So kalau harga barang tu terlalu rendah, so revise it up lah, depending on the demand as well. Reduce production ataupun outsourcing cost by changing supplier. Kalau because of high production cost, you mungkin boleh tukar supplier yang lebih murah. Ataupun you boleh reduce labor cost and reduce production wastage. Next adalah the operating profit margin, possible causes of low operating profit margin. First one, dia start daripada the low gross profit margin. So bila low gross profit margin, you akan tolak dengan you punya operating expenses dan rendahlah you punya operating profit. So kalau the gross profit margin is high but the operating profit is low, dia mungkin disebabkan oleh high operating expenses. So you imagine this situation. Kalau you punya gross profit high, tinggi, you punya operating expenses tinggi, so you punya operating margin rendah lah, right? Next adalah suggestion to improve the operating profit margin. You can, first one, reduce the cost of sales kalau dia bermula dengan the low gross profit margin. Kalau dekat sini bermula lagi rendah, maksudnya you kena improve dia punya production cost ataupun the cost of sales lah. Ataupun kalau gross profit ni dah tinggi, you boleh reduce the operating expenses. And you mungkin wants to review your selling price, increase if necessary to increase the profit. Next adalah the net profit margin. Net profit margin ni adalah impact. Okay, impact kepada the gross profit, selepas gross profit dan juga selepas operating profit. So it can only be useful if the company is making profit. It is not relevant untuk loss-making company. So macam mana nak dapat the net profit margin? Untuk dia punya net income available to common shareholder, you kena tolak dulu dengan the preference dividend. Baru you boleh bahagikan dengan the sales. Kalau operating expenses is high, it will lead to the lower net profit. Then lower lah net profit margin. Kalau operating expenses you besar, okay. Then company with high use of debt financing may experience low net profit margin. Kalau company tu banyak guna debt financing, dia kena bayar interest. Bila dia bayar interest, dia akan menyebabkan net profit margin dia lebih rendah sebab kita kena tolak dulu interest sebelum kita nak sampai ke net profit. And in this case, the lower net profit margin was due to different financing strategies, therefore not related to high operating expenses. So, untuk net profit margin ni sama ada dia tinggi ataupun rendah because of first high operating expenses. Kalau high operating expenses, dia rendah lah. Ataupun kalau high debt financing. Kalau high debt financing, maksudnya net profit margin dia akan rendah juga. Moving on, this is the return on assets. So return on asset, also known as the return on investment. This indicate the firm's ability to make profit from the investments in assets. Okay, so the higher value, the better lah untuk return on asset, which means that untuk setiap aset yang kita laburkan tu, kita dapat return yang berkali ganda. Okay. Next is the return on equity. It measures the profit earned by the common shareholder from their investment in the company. Higher return on equity indicate better return for the shareholder. Generally, high growth firm will have higher ROE. So, untuk return on equity ni dia akan measure berapa untung yang earned by the common shareholder from their investment in the company. Okay, untuk setiap RM1 yang dilaburkan, berapa dia dapat balik? So, that is measured by the return on equity. The last ratios adalah market ratio, which measure the investor's perception and also judgment towards the firm growth potential. So, kita ada 5 ratio altogether here. Kita ada EPS, which is earning per share, DPS, dividend per share, dividend payout ratio, price earning ratio, and also dividend yields. And these are the respective formula on how to get that. These are the indication untuk setiap ratio. So EPS, dia akan indicate profit earned per unit of issued share. untuk setiap satu issued share kepada shareholders, berapa earnings dia. Okay, so earnings per share. Dividen per share untuk setiap satu unit yang shareholder tu pegang, berapa dividen dia. So itu yang dia indicate lah. Dividend payout ratio indicate the proportion of earnings yang distributed to shareholders as dividend. So earnings tu, let's say this is earnings. Okay, dividend dia mungkin bayar ni, let's say 10% of the total profit. Next ada the price earning ratio. It shows how much investors are willing to pay for the company shares, and also measure the investors' confidence in the future prospects of the firm. So lebih besar price earning ratio lebih bagus lah, because it indicate that the company, the investor are confident in the future prospect of the firm. Next adalah the dividend yield. Compare the dividend per share received by shareholder to the current market share price. It indicate the return earned on shares. Okay, untuk setiap share tu, untuk setiap satu share with market price, berapa dia punya dividend. Okay, dia macam interest on the share lah, lebih kurang. Untuk comprehensive example, I nak you read on your own dekat Financial Management for Beginner by Roziah Abdul Samad, 4th edition, dia dekat page 32 sampai 46. So I'm not going to discuss into details because it's actually very simple to understand. You have to go and read your books. Okay, kita akan move on with the next subtopic. Okay, kita akan cover this common size ratios based on SOFP. So common sizing ni akan ada dalam you punya final assessment. Okay, dan juga past year's question. So macam mana nak buat common sizing? Easy. You have to compute each category of asset as percentage of the total asset and each liability as a percentage of total liability plus owner's equity. So kita akan tengok example because these sentences sound so complicated, right? Ni adalah you punya statement of financial position untuk 2012. This is you punya list of assets. Ada current, non-current. Lepas tu you dapat total kat sini. Macam mana nak buat common sizing? You akan kira setiap item ni based on percentage of total assets. So, what happen is actually you jadikan 800,000 ni, the total ni sebagai 100%. Lepas tu, setiap item ni you akan perkan dengan 800,000 supaya you dapat percentage secara individual. So you go and check for setiap item ni, dia memang akan total up to 100. Okay. This one adalah untuk liabilities and equity. How do you do you punya common sizing? Okay. You akan jadikan total liability and owner's equity ni sebagai 100%. So 800,000 becomes 100%. And the rest of this akan per dengan 800,000 darab dengan 100%. So you dapatlah yang ni. 15% untuk account payable, ada creditor 3% and yang lain-lain tu. Okay, so easy je nak buat common sizing. This is the last part, which is the limitation of financial ratio. First one, limitation dia adalah bila you nak buat comparison, it is difficult for company yang conglomerates. Conglomerates ni company yang ada banyak business yang terlibat dalam few industry. Okay, macam Genting dia ada plantation, dia ada Genting casino, dia ada Genting hotel. So it's actually difficult to do comparison with the industry average. So the ratio analysis is more useful to the smaller company. Number two, limitation dia, the average performance shown in industry average may not be desirable due to published industry average only guidelines. So company wants to beat the average, not be the average. So it is better to compare with the market leader. So kalau kita compare performance company tu dengan industry average, dia mungkin tak realistic because the industry average is only guideline. Okay, so to do it better, kita compare the market leader. Number 3, the seasonal factors can distort ratio because certain account balance mungkin akan increase or decrease at the end of the accounting period. Contoh macam event such as Hari Raya or Chinese New Year may cause the changes. So if you jual baju pada musim Hari Raya, you akan dapati that you punya inventory is too high because you nak cater for the sales untuk Hari Raya dengan Chinese New Year. So high inventory at that point of time tak indicate company is in problem. Okay, next. Number 4, inflation distort the firm's financial statement. So bila adanya inflation, the recorded value mungkin berbeza dengan the true value. So it can be misleading. Number 5, the different operating and accounting practice makes comparison difficult. Some company use straight line method untuk asset depreciation. Some company use reducing balance. So macam mana you nak compare? Number 6, sometimes it is difficult to conclude whether the ratio is good or bad. For example, high liquidity ratio. Okay, bila high liquidity ratio, kita akan katakan the company is very good. But if it's too high, mungkin dia sebenarnya tak manage dia punya working capital effectively. High liquidity may be due to overstocking of inventory. Right, we have reached the end. So since practice makes perfect, I want you to do this question July 2020 and also December 2019 and mungkin juga June 2019. Question 4, A and B. Okay, due for our discussion next meeting. And I want you to find more about what is the purpose of doing common sizing. So, soalan ni akan tanya masa our discussion. Alright, so see you soon. Bye.